Jó napot kívánok! Dobar dan. Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you for inviting me. We actually didn't know each other in person, but you in some kind found me, or Gabor found me somewhere. So I in spite of having too many things at the same time, I agreed to join. I'm very much fond of being here in Budapest in this beautiful context with such organizers, etc. And I'll try to give my best in this relatively short presentation. I hope you can understand me with my relatively weak English. I mean, not perfect English. Since I didn't have really enough of time, I had another conference yesterday in Slovenia. I was preparing the structure of it in the bus in the afternoon coming to Budapest, and I didn't have time really during the night to reduce it to a reasonable number of slides. So you'll be witnessing a kind of cinematographic experience running through the images very quickly, and I hope I can do the majority of the themes within the time that was given to me, or I hope a little bit that the organizer will be so generous as with the major and his architect before, so I can get some extra. Anyway, my lecture is structured, or I try to structure it in 3 parts more or less. The first one would go back to the historical grounds of organic architecture. Where did it all start, and how I understand the beginnings, the very archaic motives of organic connection between architecture, land, also spiritual realms, etc. Is it still? Okay, thank you. And then I would have some I would just run through some masters of organic architecture that you more or less all know, and they were mentioned already today. But just to give you the idea, what were the influences? You usually don't have to have a master really, but you have to be aware of what is happening, and then you have to find your own way. And then the last part will be our work, or a kind of run through a very different projects that we do, where we try to combine in a way this. On one hand, the universal civilization we are all part of. On the other hand, the autonomous cultures, the identity, the very local specificities of architectural language, tradition, mythology, materiality, etc. So it's kind of a fusion that tries to overcome the division between globalism on one hand, which is causing many problems, as you realize, but also has some good sides to it, and between the staying too much closed in the tradition. So this is a challenge of modern world that actually also critical regionalism in a way tries to answer, how to combine, how to stay connected with the roots and understand the spiritual and other themes that lie behind what we have inherited from our parents, and how to be part of the modern world at the same time. So I hope this will function. The beginnings, I believe many of the images and the themes you all know. I will try to switch on the timing, so to have a little bit of orientation. You know all these themes, you know the meta-crisis we are living in, all the possible aspects, and we as architects and planners, we have to be aware about the multi-layers of the crisis, the climate crisis, the way cities respond, this flooding on one hand, drying, the big megalopolises that are part of these global civilizations, and that actually converge into an unification of images and living conditions that are not really human, that are not really something that we could offer to our children or to us. So where to go back to find the principles? So I would like to speak about some principles, and they are discussable, we can do it then later. to start with the beginning, either the Big Bang or creation or the cosmic realm coming to the planet, and then going to the first actually space that we encounter. It's mother's womb. It is the soft and not yet visible but touchable, sensible world. And then we grow with architecture. It's this old ontological theme that philosophers also have thematicized, like Heidegger, Bauen, Wohnen, Leben. So we grow with architecture, and architecture, these are examples of prehistoric sites. This is on Sardinia, Montesu. My daughter, they were actually still part of this primordial relationship with the earth, very much circular, understanding the cyclices of nature, understanding the way we respond to natural world, understanding the relationship between birth and death, and transcending this narrow vision of just living in immanence, but it has to do with transcendence. So you see that they were really masters, also positioning the necropolis within the broader space, with gnomon, with the orientation point that has a deeper orientation than just four sides of the skies. And then being in a big amphitheater, and on the horizon there is an island, there is the birth, the promise of a new life. And if you go back, the first things we know nowadays, 12,000 years old, Göbekli Tepe, they are all circular. They all speak about a very powerful sacred places that we still don't know what the meaning and function of them was, but we are speculating, or the archaeologists and the scientists are speculating. But they were always a kind of a common total work of art, or we would put it Gesamtkunstwerk in German, if you understand. So from architecture to arts, these are some sketches then of mine. Malta in a similar way, the prehistoric temples of Mnajdra, Tarxien, Gigantia, the goddess principle, the matrifocal society that was not a society of wars, etc., that created this beautiful but also very, very monumental and very deep structures through which you would enter the earth and be reconnected with creation, be reconnected with cosmic powers. Or in the north, New Grange, I'm probably too near, New Grange, similar structures that are not only spatial structures, they are all also time lapses. They are also not hours, but when light enters over these beautiful stones, huge lying stones, where the stones actually reflect the stars, as above, so below. That was the old principle. And all this also artistic work in the stones is actually a reflection of the way they would understand the cosmology in their horizon of time through their culture. So New Grange is just one of the major spots between other temples, and it's a sacred landscape that is connected with major events of the year cycle, solstitius, equinox, and that responds to it. So it's only on one day, on the shortest day in the year, when there is a sun turn, the 21st of December, that the sun ray actually could penetrate into the center, into the most sacred of this tumulus in a way. Otherwise, it travels around these stelas, which all have the symbols, and they speak as a stone books, and only the druids and the one that were really initiated knew how this would function. So when was the right time to get a ritual, etc. So if you apply, you will have to wait for 15 years to come on this date. But it's a magnificent experience. And then it's not only sacred structures, it's also villages, Skarabre or the Orkney Islands. It is the foundation of Europe, the more universal one, but you can find it whenever in our cultural context. Within the earth, with the small streets, with circular structures, and with the main one cell room that stores everything, from fire in the center to cupboards, water, etc. This is a reconstruction, and also possible reconstruction. And then further on, Stonehenge, and this is the way the communities were embraced and could be built. This circular power and circular images are not only formal expressions, they symbolize the eternity, they symbolize the community, they symbolize the union and the connection. And this kind of organic connection with the Gaia, with the goddess, in Old Greek, goddess of the earth, or if we put architecture from Old Greek, is arche and tekne. And arche is primordial essence, it's something we can't grasp, it's a spiritual aspect. Tekne is the métier, it's the knowledge, the tectonics, the way of building. And 20th century and also 21st century architecture is more or less technotecture. So it's tautologically repeating of just tekne, and the arche is missing this primordial essence, the spirit, the connection of the vertical axis between above and below is not there anymore. But the antiquity was more or less in Greece, you know, Greek cities, Miletus, etc., it's all Greek, but okay, settled, and Roman cities, Castrums is all Greek, Cardo de Comans, etc. And then Middle Ages again is connected with the earth and with the topography, with natural features. And we have some examples here, like on the very western side of the Irish archipelago, 2 islands, very remote, very wild, where monks have found their space in 6th century. It's Michael, it's that far, and they have built their own community, small community that persisted for some centuries here. So it's incredible what a human spirit and human will, if it wants to be connected and also in peace, can actually create in such a remote place. Or on the other side, in Greece, you probably know it, Meteora, on this archaic landscape of boulders, the monasteries that touch the skies, that are transmitters of let's say, connection and the inner peace. Or if we would go universally to other cultures, we would meet it in a cultural different way, but similar principles. Machu Picchu, the Incas up there in our Middle Ages, building this incredibly beautiful but very consistent culture oriented to the peaks, but creating common spaces, the residential areas, terraces, and the way they were built stones. It's incredible just to see how quick I go. Oh, no, it's not quick enough. Venice is one of the remains of Middle Ages with this circular spine, a beautiful city of dualities like yin and yang, we could put it, that was also established or found in the prehistoric ceramics on the Balkans, in our spaces from Maria Gimbutas, and then Dubrovnik, the stone ship. The cities were not just this seemingly random, medieval cities were not just created like without any plans. They were done in situ, site-specific, respecting the sun rays, the date of the patron that would, when the city would be initiated or established. So it would touch the walls, it would go through the main streets, Stradun, etc., and it would even enter the main palaces, playing the sun, the shades, and going down to the detail, all the proportions, to the Gothic elements, to the beauty of the details. And the medieval time still has preserved this unity of archaeoastronomy, when the churches were kind of instruments of traveling through space and time. This is Holy Donat in Zadar, 8th, 9th century, the light coming in, equinoxium, solstitium, and playing this dance of light within a very monumental, rigid structure, and reflecting with this temporary shades traveling. So these cities, medieval cities, seem like they would be randomly composed, but they have a very exact inner logic, very, very well thought through and very beautifully connected with nature. So they are prolongation, actually, of the natural potentials. They're just added. Architecture is a crown. It is not something that comes from a different world. It just tops it and makes it a higher quality. So we can still meet this kind of circularity in third world, etc. But these cities, if we see the morphological item, they are all the medieval. They have this kind of very specific and individual nature. An architect, as much as there was a kind of a pontifex, the one who actually helped to translate on, or let's say to transport the principles of the skies down to the earth and to understand the landscape as a promised landscape that would reflect. So all the symbols about the city in different cultures have similar meaning. Slovenia, some cities, medieval, still preserving, Piran, that you perhaps know, they seem random, but they have very exact principles. So we have analyzed that. The lines, the views towards the cathedral of St. Michael's, the main piers approaching the city, the main streets, and then even the smaller ones, not all. But it's a language, it's like an old GPS, which helped the people to orient themselves within their cities. And it was a very exact language, very exact semantic, not only syntax. And to the loggia, the church, etc. And now near, just to show you another medieval structure of Ptuj, Poetovio, that is near near actually the borders with Hungary. It was very important Roman time, in Roman times, Poetovio, but Roman layers are further and not yet totally exploited. Medieval city just sits on the top of a hill with a castle with beautiful triangular composition, and with this density of views and orientation within this seemingly, again, and I'll just run through them. So you see the castle as a dominant, the small tower of the castle approaching the church sphere on the main square. The other church is the main square with the Orpheum, the monument sculptures. And the more you get further of the center, the more it gets lost. So we actually meet the modern world, the urban sprawl, the alienated urbanity that doesn't speak the same language, that is not coherent anymore, that doesn't carry the same meaning, the same quality of experience, the same quality of living. So it becomes, you still see the major themes, but it becomes more and more chaotic, more and more lost. And the western side of Ptuj is totally, it's industrial and other, let's say, shoppings, etc. So it's a total duality, and you can hardly see what is happening behind. So we actually have two worlds, more or less, now speaking very generally. The traditional city and the modern city, or as you know it probably, Nolis, Rome, and Le Corbusier's, one of the cities in France. It's plus minus, it's complementary. Solid, void, they actually would come together. And we are in times that we are not anymore in the situation to ruin. We are not anymore in the situation to expand the cities, but to grow within the degraded areas, the brownfield areas, and to transform them and to change the paradigm from the, let's say, industrial, or however you would call it, technological, rational city to sustainable, ecological, organic city, with all the criteria about which we don't have time. And this is very important because we shape our buildings and then they shape us. So if you grow up child in a harmonious environment, which doesn't have to be the medieval city, it can be just a broader, in a way, he has a better starting point for self-realization. He lives in a music that is frozen, in comparison with somebody who is damned to live in a urban sprawl, chaotic, dispersed city without any references, without language. So this is important. It's our task to heal these surroundings also, to deal with them. And now coming to, coming to the organics. I use here Frank Lloyd Wright. It could be many other definitions, but it is something that is connected with the site in multiple layers. It grows out of the site. It doesn't have to be organic in formal way. always, consequently. It has the tendency, but it's not a language that is formal, that becomes formalism, but it has to always be site-specific, always different, always to respond to very specificity of a cultural, natural, social, whatever spiritual context of the site. And also, Van der Rohe is not an organic architect, but it's true that the architecture has to reflect the time in which we live. We can't build 19th, 18th century. Standards are different. We have IT, we are all interconnected. Our children, as we have heard before already, they live in a virtual reality. We have to invite them back to reality of space and intercommunication. They have to be embraced by real space where they could compensate this alienation of the virtualization, social media, etc. And these are some masters that we in a way, were very much going deep into their work. You know them, Gaudi, Santa Coloma, the non-finished world, this roughness, but incredibly genial structure, or public architecture of him, not only churches, or let's say Amsterdam School, Berlage School, all the architects, the best probably Michel de Klerk in Amsterdam, masters of brick. It's a poetry of brick with details. So it is really something that existed in 20s when modernism was already starting its big mobilization walk through Europe. Or Frank Lloyd Wright, with his not only circular but very different regional responses to the prairie, to California, to Arizona, always different and always very specific. Or Alto, a modernist in a way, but still a modernist that was also regional in materiality, in response to nature, in the way he embraced, not always in different works, but I think he had the distance towards Siam and this kind of mainstream, narrow view of this cardboard modernist architecture, and actually integrated traditional, their materiality, organic architecture, playing with materials, etc. You know his work, churches and libraries, etc. Or even Le Corbusier, the big guru of 20th century, towards the end with 5 more minutes? Oh, I didn't yet come to our, okay. Corbusier with Ronchon. That's it. Sorry? Yeah, okay. I'm not a major, so... or even in the Far East, the technological, organic, like Tange in the 60s. It's, or Otto in the 70s with the with the Olympic complex, or very modest personalities. Ponis in Sardinia built a lot of houses, very minimal and very not well known, but always integrated into the landscape and having sources in tradition. Or Piccionis, that you know, vis-a-vis Acropolis, Philopappos, using the archaeological remains and integrating them into his beautifully sequenced parts that are oriented towards major sites and school and small church. Or Makovecz, who I met in the late 80s in Vienna, not personally, but I came to his lecture as I was working there for 1 year, and he was our hero in a way, you know, an alternative, somebody who dared to be different to this kind of mainstream movements, and he came and with proudness and with Hungarian identity and gave his lecture. So it was one of the influences, definitely. Later, perhaps a little bit less, but still, you all know it better. And then we have our own father, Plečnik, the beginnings, his sketches. He then became more a classicist, but in the beginning, secessionist, and then also Renaissance, etc. Strong in sketches, even in small structures, coming back to the sources, to the chapels and shelters, or the big themes like the parliament that was never executed. His younger companion, who tried to develop language, national language, Vurnik, and his wife Helena Kötter, with colors and with this gym. And the pupil of Plečnik, the best one, who worked with Plečnik for a long time with the National Library, but then went to Corbusier and make a specific personal fusion. These are his images and his cultural home in Ljubljana, Cankarjev Dom, which is mostly underneath the earth, or the way he integrated archaeology on the building site of residential area. This belly is a Roman rotunda. And these are mine sketches, the abstract, the inner one, the kind of meditative ones. Sorry? Slow down meditatively, please. Yeah, okay. Do I have 7 minutes more? I'm sorry. I came a long way. I could have a video conference, it would be not that authentic. But you can see that this kind of contemplation and meditation, the inner worlds have to be thematicized. They are not directly translatable to architecture, but sometimes they lead you towards very diverse, but sometimes you can get already spaces that are in a way nearer to, like the earth house within the earth, within the horizon, you dig into it, or here as well. And then the other part of this, let's say, expression, which is not digital, just typing architecture, is sketching on excursions, the big monuments. This is just example from Italian excursion with the students, where we do very quick sketches, in 5 minutes each site. You can recognize Florence, Siena, Brunelleschi. So we have to learn from the old masters, but never really copy them. Siena, Il Campo, Assisi, the painters, Urbino, etc. And this is now our work. I start with Urban project, which is an old quarry. We did a competition in 2009, we won it, how to refill it and how to re-urbanize it. But nothing has happened till now. It's next to Ljubljana. We were the only ones to also keep the technical heritage and fill in the whole of this wounded hill with a topographical solution. The others mostly made either blocks or high-rise or whatever. And we just transformed it and tried to, this is the function of healing organic architecture, with the Semiramis gardens, just put them over this very differentiated section. So no to orthogonality, to high-rise, to blocks, yes to this kind of geometry that really fits. And the inclination changes very much during models, sketches as usually, to see these terraces and the way ground floor, the streets that would lead up to the major square on the upper level, the technical part below, water element, garages underneath, and the technical part down to the street, to the level 00. Sustainability issues, this is 2009, the views towards the city over the terraces and the internal courtyards also. And this is now the section. This is all from the competition. And you see before and below the part with the flower, and the lower part with just contextualization of the existing. Different other, like in Celje, but we will not go into that. And this is the beginnings in the 80s with the first house, with the cellar, with axis mundi, with the pillar, and then the pillar goes through all the house, and the house in the ground floor has these 3 layers. I don't have really. And then the shelter for the old trunk. Near, this is all eastern Slovenia, near Hungary. They have found 1,600 years old trunk, and we have made the shelter, have used the straw, have used the modern construction, and put it down into the earth to breathe and to have the possibility to visit it. And then there is a there is a tree house in Celje in the middle. This was before we knew the site. There was a small competition. These images are just dreaming. And then we found the site with the forest people. We went 6 trees, and between the 6 trees, we had to find the geometry to adapt it to kind of have this playfulness of hexagonal geometry within, and all the paths and auditorium outside for the events. And on the top, on the platform, which is 6 meters above, you have these 6 fingers reaching into the forest. It's a forest observation thing for education, etc. So you can see the major trees, and in the inside, it's a common big space with the light above, with the skylight. So again, the sun penetrates, and even in the floor, there is a glass opening and touches the earth. This theme of reconnecting is always there. So it is also a teaser for children to come and enjoy the forest, and it has become an excuse also to come to the city forest, the balconies and the interior with the skylight and one. So you can remove the banks and make a circle there, and the views outside and the stairs, and then the details. With artists, we develop this, let's say, wooden sculptures that are even more organic and that have the freedom to, and the roof to express. Celje, the same, it's the pathways on the castle hill with the viewing point over the medieval city, and with the resting points for children or for visitors of the hills. So we respond with benches, with organic architecture, not only, and with the children's playing ground. And geological stories. When you go up the hill, you actually also metaphorically remake the travel through geological stories. This is an older 90s interpolation in Laško, just near Celje, a modern house, but without any space. Actually, the only ground floor is the black one. The other is cantilevering over it and leaving the space for pedestrians to pass by. And this is a Waldorf school in Ljubljana that we have made addition with colleagues together, a group open circle, we used to be called. There is historical building there, and we are very much squeezed between street and the castle hill, and no space for gym or anything else, so we had to go deep to make the gym underneath, very deep. And this is the addition in wood. There used to be a concrete very dull structure, and this is the section that in a way tells you about above. There's a wooden structure that is still, it's 15 years old, and it's very well, the wood responds very well. This is a view from the street. The lighthouse that brings light to the gym below, the small courtyard, the 6 classrooms, and on the top, the 2 is, who know anthroposophy, it's for 2 artistic, for music and for eurythmy. And the one underneath, that is for common events, not only for gym, and the entrance, and the back side where the communications lie between the castle hill and a small chapel in Makovecz in the mountains. So we studied tradition, the traditional houses, and also the chapels that is not there anymore in the main square of Makovecz. Again, the formal language, the morphology, the way houses lead a dialogue with the mountains, the fractal similarity of forms, and this critical regionalism that combines, which I mentioned before. And this is this reflecting. And this is what I think, not to go into mainstream, but to have this other tradition that was interpreted with the other masters of modern, of 20th century and now 21st, that dare to go their own way, that are deeper connected with life, and that embrace not only architecture, but life much more holistically. These 3 walls, I know, 3 walls, Trinity, Christian Trinity, the Noah's arch put on the that has landed on this small topography, and the approach, the drama coming through the forest, and then the vertical, the symbol of spirituality that greets you, and the roof that corresponds to the mountains behind, that leads a dialogue. And again, wood, this is the roof during the construction with the owner, the roof in shingles. And the painter did a triptych of the sacred. Jesus. He has ships above that, and it's the shepherd, the biblical story. And the small things we designed like very autonomously with the masters, always collaborating with local masters, and then the events. Shall we finish or? Okay. I have next time, in next life.